Hey neighbor, this is our part 2 of our seed starting series. We started last week with heat mats. We're starting at the bottom, working our way up. This week we're talking about seed starting mixes. Welcome to the Row by Row Gardening Show, the best dadgum gardening show on the internet, where we talk about gardening, a little bit of cooking, and growing your own food. Now sit back and enjoy. Well, as you can see here, I've got my winter clothes on. I get to wear these about once every 2 to 3 years. I hadn't worn these insulated coveralls. I can't even get them up right now.
They still fit.
They still fit. I hadn't worn them in my man scarf. I know it's been 2 years since I wore it. But I said this morning when I got up, you know, you got all those winter clothes that you spend a lot of money on that you really like, that you put up. You just don't get to wear them much. But when you see them in your closet, you say, man, I'm going to wear those next time it gets cold.
I got my snow boots on.
This week is your week to wear those clothes. Yeah, so we're digging through, finding out all of our clothes, putting them on that we've had saving for this particular day or this week.
This week.
It's been cold here, folks. We've had this Arctic blast, one of those winter mixes we don't get very often.
No, like once in 20 years.
And we actually had to shut down yesterday because for the safety of our employees. You know, here in the South, when it gets 25 and some snow and ice and a high of 33, 34, we shut everything down, unlike our neighbors up north that are used to it. So the schools, everything just closes down. So we want to look out for the safety of everybody. So we take those precautions as well. But kind of back at it now. Next week's supposed to be good. And by the way, we got the seed potatoes in. We got them in last Monday. But we decided not to ship any out this week. A couple of reasons is we knew that there was going to be a lot of delays in shipping because the delivery trucks weren't going to be able to deliver, and there's going to be a lot of things held up in warehouses. Plus, with the cold weather, we didn't want to take a chance of any of them getting frozen in transit. So we're going to get full blown in shipping seed potatoes next week, Monday, Tuesday. We should get probably most of, not all of them out, at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if you've not ordered your seed potatoes, order them and we'll get them out to you next week. And you can save them till you get ready to plant them and you'll have them. So,
Yeah. Tell me how to store them.
put them in a cool, spread them out, put them in a cool, dark place, and they'll be fine. Just
Like you would store potatoes you buy.
Yep, grocery store or onions, anything like that, be fine. And when you get ready to plant them, they'll be sprouted a little bit. You can cut them up and plant them. So that's kind of the best strategy. It worked out really good last year because that's what we did. We shipped most of our potatoes out in January last year and let the customers hold them till they need them. And look here, when you get that itch to want to go plant your potatoes, you got them, you can go out there and do it instead of having to wait on getting them shipped there. So go ahead and order them, get them in, and be ready to plant your potatoes when that happens. For me, it's toward the end of February, but each to their own. A lot of people swear by the 15th of February.
When you start chitting them.
I will start chitting mine probably about the 24th. Chitting potatoes. CHITTING potatoes. It's the process of where we cut them, let them heal over, and let them sprout a little bit. So, all right, so we're going to be talking about seed starting mix today. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. A lot of people don't know about seed starting mixes, and we're going to talk about that. First thing we're going to do is differentiate between a seed starting mix and a potting mix. Now, as I often say, there's always exceptions to the rule, and there's definitely a couple to this rule here. Normally speaking, you don't want to buy a potting mix and use it as a seed starting mix. A potting mix most of the time is made of cheaper components because it's sold in bigger variations, and it's got a lot of times pine bark in it, which is absolutely okay for a potting mix, but not for a seed starting mix.
For seed starting, you want something that's good aeration, good drainage.
Yep.
Moisture retention.
And a fairly small particle so they can get really good soil to seed contact.
Free of pathogens and weed seed.
Now there's exception to the rule there on the pot mix and the seed starting mix that I shared with you in a little bit that I found last year. But just about always you want to stay away from pot mix. Most of the time your seed starting mix are sold in smaller bags. I say that because If you go to your big box store, even to your local independent nursery or whatever, you will find that most of your seed starch mix are sold in these right here. However, they are some that's sold in bigger bales, specifically most of the time at your nurseries, your independent garden centers.
Like the Pro Mix.
Yeah, the Pro Mix or the Sun Mix is another one. But when you go to your Lowe's and Home Depots, you basically, Walmart, you're going to see them in these small ones right here. And we sell black gold in 16 and 8. This is 8 quart. We sell this in this size bag.
There's 16
One
grain.
twice this size as well. For most people, most homeowners, a 16 quart bag is enough to plant most of what you want to do. If you're an overachiever, then you probably want to get one of the bigger bales, and it'll last you for quite a while. That's kind of what I do. But let's get into it. Let's get into the components of a good seed starting mix.
All right.
The first one would be peat. Peat is the brown stuff that you see right here. Peat is a natural product that they dig directly out of the ground. Most of this peat comes out of Canada. Canadian peat normally is a little bit superior than other peats around. Oh, there's actually a peat bog not too far from us, but it's not as good as what Canadian peat is.
So it comes out of the ground?
They just pull it out, they just dig it out of the ground. Yeah, it's a natural product. Dig it out of the ground, they screen it and everything, and but they don't do anything to it. That's it. The next component that you see in most of your common seed starting mix is vermiculite. Now we've got vermiculite right here, and I got it 2 different variations because the thing about vermiculite, it comes as a coarse as we see right here, and it comes as more of a ground up one, finer one as you see right here. I hope everybody can see that well. Now vermiculite is a natural product that goes through a little bit of a process where they heat it up and it kind of expands there. This right here, this finer one, did you hear Maggie moaning? Maggie's taking a nap underneath the table here, and she just set out
She's
a groan.
voicing her opinion.
Yeah. This is a finer one right here. This is the one that we like to use as a top dress when we put over our watermelon seedlings. Also, this is one I would prefer to use in a seed start mix versus this thicker, coarser one right here. Now, in a potting mix, where you transplant plants into something to grow them on out, this coarse one right here would be fine. I don't like it as a seed starting mix. We move over to the next one. The next one is perlite. Perlite also comes in different textures. You can get a more finer one, as you see this right here. This is the one we sell. And you can get more in a coarser type. You see there's some bigger rocks in there. Those are like the coarser texture. Same thing with this right here. We see more of the coarser texture in the potting mixes. We see more of the finer in the seed start mixes there. Again, it lends itself to, you need kind of a good, soft, finer mix for a seed start
So
mix.
this is perlite.
It is perlite. Now, perlite is a more processed material than any of the other 2 components. And what we're seeing within the industry is most of the big companies that make pot mixes are trying to cut down or eliminate their use for perlite, because perlite is probably the most expensive particle in the mix there.
Is it volcanic rock?
It is. And it goes through a process where they have to heat it up and make it like it is right now. So you will see, and you will continue to see more and more with less or no perlite in the mix, as opposed to back in the day, just about all your mixes had perlite in them. And most of the mixes I still use today has perlite in them. I love perlite. I guess the reason because I'm a little old school and I'm used to using it.
And it helps with
And you
water
should-
retention?
Helps with water retention in a weird kind of way, but the main thing it helps with is drainage. So it's really light and fluffy, and it helps the drainage in the
Keeps from being
soil.
waterlogged.
Keep from being waterlogged. It has a really weird attribute to it. So inside of this perlite right here, if you was to look at it underneath the microscope, there is these little small tunnels or cavities all in this perlite right here. And when we waterlog or we water this perlite really well, inside of those cavities fill up with water. And the reason it works so good, if you've ever watched much of our seed start videos, we like to top dress our seeds with this perlite right here. It is a wonderful material to top dress with for 2 reasons. One of it is it's really light and fluffy, and it's easy for that seedling to push through.
Is that why it floats in water?
That's the reason it floats in water. But the main reason is, and this is what I didn't understand for a long time, is when this water cavities, these really microscopic water cavities within this perlite fills up with water, and we put it on top of a seed, it creates a higher humidity with all that water cavity in there, and it releases that water at a different rate than some of these other things too. So that lends itself well as a great top dresser to help with germination of seeds. We use perlite, if we have it, on top of all our seedlings that we plant, with the exception of one. Watermelons, we use vermiculite.
Why?
I don't know. But you know, watermelons, seedless watermelons specifically,
Yeah.
have this tendency, I'm going to back up on that, I think I do know.
Okay.
As we know, seedless watermelons are really hard to germinate.
And you don't want them too wet.
And you don't want them too wet. So the vermiculite changes the water composition on top of the seed versus the perlite. So
Makes
that's
sense.
the reason why.
Learned something today.
Learned something today. But that is the commercial, and I learned all this from the commercial growers, right? So I didn't come up with this willy-nilly on my own. But that's the way these products is used. All of your commercial vegetable transplant growers, all of them that grow for all these huge farmers, use perlite as a little bit of a top dress. After they put the seed in there, they put perlite on top, with the exception of watermelons, and that is when vermiculite is used.
Okay. What about compost?
Compost is not hardly ever used in a commercial mix. Sometimes it's used in a lot of residential mixes, and I think composts are okay. The problem with compost is it does have a decent amount of living organisms inside of them.
Pathogens.
And some pathogens can be bad for seedlings when we start getting into pythium and dampening off. There's a multitude of other ones that can be harmful. So we have to be kind of careful with those. The commercial people don't like to use them because they're really not needed in the sprouting process of the seeds. To sprout that seed and get that seed up, when you got what we call a sterile mix, one that doesn't have any beneficial or bad organisms in them, they take most of the chances of a disease in there out. So that's the reason a sterile mix, such as the ones I've got right here that I've mentioned right here, these good commercial mixes, doesn't have compost in them.
I remember my mother, when I was young, we had a stove out under the shelter, and she would spend hours and hours baking her soil.
Really?
Back when she had all that salvia.
Why?
I guess she was sterilizing it.
Well, you can buy sterile mixes now. Now, back in my days in school, around 1982,
But she made her own soil
she made her own
mix.
soil. Well, that's where I'm leading to. Back in 1982, in a horticulture class, our professor made us make our own pot mix. Now, I realize now why he did that. He did that so that we would understand the composition of it, and we would, without him having to tell us, we would learn something, okay? And we would have to make our own
Did y'all
mix.
plan in it?
We did plan it. In fact, we did not, for our greenhouse in our horticultural classes, we did not buy the pre-made seed start mixes or pot mixes like we have today. We made our own with individual components. And the reason is we understood that. Now, what we did back then, I don't remember the exact recipe, but it was vermiculite, it was perlite, and it was peat. We also added lime. Lime because peat in general has a very low pH, and you need to adjust your pH in your seed start mix or your pot mix. And that's the great thing about these ready to use mixes. Let me back up. That's the great thing about these good brand ready to use mixes is they have the pH already adjusted. Also, they will have wetting agents put in there so that they wet easy, but they're also pH adjusted in there. And that's the reason nowadays you don't see anybody making their own mix because it's too easy just to buy it already pre-made up. But that is, for the most part, the three components of a good seed
And
start
again, we're
mix.
just talking about seed starting,
Seed start mix now.
not your potting mix.
They are, what we are seeing is some new components coming out that's replacing some of these. Now we have COIR, C-O-I-R, which is a byproduct of the coconut husk. We're seeing a lot of core in a lot of mixes. And core is and real similar to peat. It's a sterile product. It works as kind of a general. You see more core in a lot of these mixes because it doesn't do a whole lot. Besides, it's just a good substrate that has some water holding ability, but it doesn't really stand out at anything. But it works okay, folks. There's nothing wrong with core. It's becoming more popular because it's more readily available.
Is it not as expensive?
And it's not quite as expensive as a renewable resource. So we're seeing more and more of that. And to be honest with you, it's okay. I've just not used a lot of it because I'm more old school, but it is okay. Now, I do not particularly like, a lot of these companies will sell the core blocks, and you bring the core block in and you plant it. I don't like using a straight core block. I like to use a mix. So if you are wanting to do your own mix with some of the core blocks, buy you a little bit of vermiculite, perlite, and kind of mix it up together and find you a good consistency that works well for you, and I think you'll be better served.
What about those that do the soil blocking? What kind of...
Oh, you're getting on my bad side there. So the soil blocking,
They are people that like
there's
that.
a lot of people that love soil blocking, and I don't know why. It's a particular mix that I've tried it before that you got to come up
It
with.
has to be pretty...
Bindy. It has to bind good. You have to order these special materials in there to play in the mud and make your soil blocks up. Folks, I don't, no hate to nobody, but for the life of me, I don't understand why people think soil blocking is better, because it's not. If you love, and I've said this before,
Yeah.
made some enemies out there, but if you love to go outside and just play in the dirt
See,
and
you
get
have
it
sat
wet.
there and played in that dirt for 20
Yeah, but I've not
minutes.
got it wet. You know, if you want to get it wet and just get all nasty and play in the dirt, soil blocking may be for you. Soil blocking is not more renewable than these other mixes here, because you have to order these special mixes to make the soil blocks. And so when people tell
And
you,
trays.
and trays, and so when people tell you it's better on the environment or it's more sustainable, it's not. Number two is it doesn't grow off a better plant. Number three, there's so many failures within soil blocking. You got to have everything perfect to make it work.
You can get fungus and
Oh man,
What is it?
It's just if you
mold on it.
if you want something just to do, to spend good hours of your time doing, and look, I've done some tests with it. You can't convince me it's better. It takes a lot more time, takes more money than doing it in just regular trays.
You're going to get some hate.
I'm gonna
comment.
get some hate on that, but I'll take the hate on that, because I will challenge anybody out there that wants to challenge me. I can grow a better plant in our new trays that we got coming out, or our 162s or 338s. I can grow a better plant, and I can grow it off quicker than you can in your soil blocking. I promise you. All right, moving on from there. I didn't expect to make a promise like a challenge, but I'll challenge anybody on
You
that
challenge?
one. Yep. So let's move into a lot of these mixes nowadays have these new products inside of them. Now, when you go to buy your soil seed start mix, you're going to see, and Scott's is pretty notorious for this, and a lot of it is a marketing game. You'll see things like worm castings in there, or compost in there, or some nutrients already in your soil. And I'm going to call out a company that I actually like called ProMix. You'll see some of those with what they call mycorrhizal beneficial fungi in there. It'll say pot mix with mycorrhiza. Well, I've tested the mycorrhiza, which is a beneficial fungi. I've tested with and without it, folks. I can't tell any difference. So I think it's kind of a marketing thing there. If anybody's got any experiences other than that, let me know. But I put them side by side, and I can't tell any difference. Now, with the worm castings and the compost and the added nutrients, I'm not going to tell you under ideal conditions some of that might work okay, but here's the problem with that. As I alluded to earlier, sometimes you get bad pathogens in there with some of these composts and things like that, and if a combination with too much water or waterlogged soils, it can cause some problems. Under ideal conditions, I think it's probably would do better, because once that plant does put out the roots and starts to grow, you got a little bit of nutrients for it there it can hang on to and sprout up. Ideally, you're better off to add those nutrients when those plants get to those stage. But under ideal conditions, some of those could work. If I was going to add anything to my pot soil, it would probably be worm castings. And I think you would probably be better off to do that at the point of mixing it up when you get ready to use it. And the reason for that is if you put those worm castings in that soil ahead of time, such as some of the manufacturers does, and it stays on the shelf for a year or 2 years or in the warehouse, those nutrients in that worm castings, compost, or whatever can be diluted or used up or broken down, and they're not as beneficial. So if you want to add anything to your seed starting mix, when you're getting ready to do it, get you some worm castings, good worm castings, or maybe a little bit of good compost. Add it at the time when you're mixing up ready to use it.
What about the complete organic?
I would not use it as well. I wouldn't use it, mix it in. I don't think you need it at seed starting time. I think it could be.
But what if you're direct seeding? You do.
All right, I'm confused here.
If you're starting your seed, we're talking about seed starting.
Yes.
If you're direct seeding, it's okay to put the complete organic.
You're talking about direct seeding in the soil or in these trays?
In soil.
In the soil out in the garden, yes,
Yeah.
it's fine for that. But we're talking about seed starting in the trays with a seed starting mix. No, I would not use complete organic. There again, same thing. It could have some harmful effects there if ideal conditions were not. Say your temperatures got out of whack, wasn't ideal, or you had too much soil loaded in there. And you run the risk of maybe burn. So I think it's probably not a good idea.
So what about the green bags that's got the
Maggie's cold nosing me underneath here. The nutrients in them.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the, especially the Miracle Grow, and some of these, there's a few other ones out that have the nutrients, the Miracle Grow inside of the bag. The problem with those is the same thing. They have a shelf life to them. This is what most people don't tell you, but their shelf life to those nutrients, if it's been sitting there for 6 or 8 months, those nutrients are washed up and gone. Because there's a certain amount of moisture in a lot of these seed starting mixes, and they can go ahead and use those up, and they can be broken down and degraded.
And the seed doesn't need that to
And the
germinate.
seed doesn't need it anywhere, but they're gone. So shelf life on those components is there, and they're not talked about. But I did talk to a manufacturer about that the other day, and they really admitted that to me, that there was a pretty short shelf life on those synthetic nutrients in your seed starting mix. So let's get into, when we told you what you shouldn't do, let's get into telling you what you should do. You should look for, in my opinion, just a natural, good seed starting mix that doesn't have, it's pretty consistent in size here. I'm going to tell you a couple brands that I'm really in favor of. And most of these brands are going to be more available. I'm going to show you the one we sell. But if you're looking for one and need that type, I would suggest you go into your local independent garden center, because they're going to more than likely have these brands I'm telling you about. Sungrow, which is this one right here. This is, I got a sample of it. I'm going to show you all the bag. This is the one we sell. And this is the consistency of it right here. You see it's a little bit finer. I kind of like this mix more than anything else. I'm not telling you it's the best mix out there, but I like this mix a lot. All right. This is black gold. This is one we sold here. All right, this is a good mix.
Is that white stuff?
Perlite, but it's a smaller perlite. That is a good mix. You can buy this from us. You can buy it in a lot of your independent garden centers. But if you're wanting a bigger container of it, there's a brand called Sunshine. Sunshine is the same company as Black Gold. Black Gold normally makes their smaller packages. And you can buy this Sunshine in these bigger bales and these bigger bags. Sunshine number 4 and number 5, both of those I think are really good seed start mix. In fact, Sunshine number 5 and this one right here are exactly the same. Oh. So that helps you out there, folks. All right, so we have that. You can buy your Sunshine, your Black Gold. I think you'll be good. All right, this is another mix right here that I probably use more than I have any rest of them. This mix right here is called Pro Mix. Now, do you see this is a little bit chunkier? Mm-hmm. But this has done extremely well for me over the years right here. Buy it with or without the mycorrhiza. Like I said, I can't tell any difference. So whatever you can find, you can buy. You'll find this at a lot of your Ace hardware stores. You'll find it in independent garden centers. I like this one a lot. You can buy this in the smaller bags, sometimes at Walmart, but most of the time it's going to be in the bigger bales or the bigger bags. Pro Mix is a great one. One of the top end brands, I think, for a seed start mix. And it also doubles as a pretty good potting soil. Mm-hmm. Now, I told you earlier that there was exceptions to the rule with potting soil and seed start mix. I found a small bale of Pro Mix at Walmart last year on clearance. They had a pallet of it, and they called it, it's one of these small, unique little bales here. They called it pot and soil, Pro Mix pot and soil. I bought that, brought it home just to see what was in it. It would work extremely well as a seed start mix. Very high quality product. I forgot what I paid for it. It was nearly nothing. So you can find these things on sale every now and then at the big box stores, but always look for that brand Pro Mix. And most, if not always the time, you'll be extremely happy with the results. That is the only potted mix I ever seen that I thought would do a good job as a seed start mix also. So there you have that. There's another brand out there that you probably won't see a lot of called Old Castle. You'll see it in more your independent garden centers. It works pretty good too. It's a good brand. Now that's my top 3 brands, and mostly you're going to see the Sunshine, the Black Gold, or the Pro Mix brands in your independent garden centers, your Ace Hardwares and things like that. And those are the ones I would definitely recommend. The problem, and we sell lots of these, right? 8-quart, 16-quart bags. But if you're a big time gardener, shipping these big bales can be problematic. So you may want to invest in getting you a bale that lasts you a long time.
And then we also have the perlite and the vermiculite.
We have the perlite and the vermiculite that we sell. Yeah, that we sell extra, and we sell this for people to top dress their seedlings with right here. There's the perlite and the vermiculite. Now there are a few. There's the vermiculite, and that's the finer vermiculite that I like. There are a few of your nurseries or your independent garden centers that may sell those products. I normally don't ever see those products in like your big box stores, but you do see them a lot in your independent garden centers. So you can buy those from them, or you can order from us, either one. Just make sure when you buy your vermiculite, you want the finer type than the coarser type. If you're using it for a top of your watermelon seeds, yep. Pot mix, that coarser variety would be fine. So we're starting from the ground up. We got heat mats last week. We got seeds starting now. Next week we're doing trays. There'll be part 3 series of the seed start mix, and we got something special for next week.
And then the next week we'll talk about seed starting, because it'll be time.
It'll be time, yep. All right. I got to dig down here and find out our winners of our
Garden Spotlight.
Garden Spotlight and the Old Goat. Okay, here we have some pictures.
Our Garden Spotlight is Tim Garrett in Polk County, Georgia, and he wanted to show us his watermelon radish. He says everybody needs to know how good these are, and they were grown
Look
in
how pretty they are.
Polk County, Georgia.
You know, I don't think, in fact, I know watermelon radish is not our top seller, but it is one of my tops. It is one of our top sellers, and I'll tell you the reason why. Look here, folks. And tell them the way you've been cooking some of these radishes, like with olive oil and roasting them.
Yeah, I just slice them up.
Just like you did.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll brown them a little bit in some bacon grease and then stick them in the oven and get that pretty roast caramelized on them.
You know, we've always thought radishes most of the time to be eaten in salads, but we have found them extremely delicious to roast them in the oven. All right, good deal. We love watermelon radishes.
We've been cooking a lot of turnips too.
A lot of turnips, a lot of root crops.
Yeah, a lot of root crops.
I'm a little bit worried that some of our neighbors up to the north of us are going to only have root crops to eat after this cold spell.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned about our onion growers that's in the northern areas from us. 18 degrees is what we got down to, not for a long period of time, but we were below freezing for a long period of time. But our neighbors up north that got a lot colder than that, I'm really concerned about onions. We shall see.
Hope they're okay.
Yep. All right.
All right. Old Goat
Old Goat for the folks.
is somewhere on set.
Somewhere on the set, you'll find the figurine that's Old Goat. Find it, put in comments below.
He is missing a horn.
He's missing a horn?
Yeah.
He had an accident. All right. Last week's winner for the Old Goat is Danny Bennett. Danny Bennett, send us your information to
support@growhouse.com.
and we will send you a wonderful pair of Get Dirty socks, Danny. Look at that. Whew. Your feet will be so happy. They warm too. I don't wear mine every day, but I wear them a lot.
So you want to talk about the subscription boxes?
Yeah, so if you're not aware, we started a subscription box service January the 1st, and we have it on our website now, and we're getting a lot of attention. A lot of people are buying our subscription box. We have 3 different levels. We have Seeds of the Month, which you get seed packs every month. That's is available to anybody in lower 48 states.
And those have been sent out.
Those have been sent out.
So let us know what you think.
Yep, and then we have 2 more boxes for only 7 states: Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. The reason is you people are in the same growing zone as us, and we can give you specific varieties and things that's going to help you, and timing that's going to be perfect for you. So if you're a gardener that's beginning, or maybe you're an experienced gardener, but you just don't want to keep up with what you need to do when, the Host Gardening Club is a perfect thing. We have courses in it, and that's going to be exclusive to you. You get particular projects when you need to plant them. Example of that, we're sending out seed potatoes this month. Also, you get exclusive on new products. So we've got a couple of new live plant products that's going to be available in the next couple of weeks. And the people that send our subscription get first shot at those. So anytime we have a new product, you get first choice of those. There's just a whole multitude of advantages to being into the subscription. You get discounts every month. Every month you get some sort of promotional discount to use, so you can order something else that you may be needing. And you're going to be getting a little bit more email newsletter, informational stuff from us. So wonderful to be involved in, very inexpensive. I think the small sprouts is $39.99, and then the heavy harvesters, I think, is $79.99. So if you're a raised bed gardener or a small in-ground gardener, the small sprouts is perfect for you. Or the heavy harvester if you like to grow a lot of food and you have a bigger in-ground garden. Now here's the thing, folks. With any subscription, this has been the biggest hang up with people with subscriptions is it's hard to get out of them. I can promise you with ours, you can go in there and you can skip months. If you're going to be on vacation, you're going to be sick. But it's just as easy, if not easier, for you to cancel as it is for you to subscribe. So don't feel like we're holding you to something other. If you get in there and you say, this is not for us,
log onto your account.
One click and you're through. Boom. It's that easy. So one of the things we was really important to us is making it easy for somebody to get out if this was not for them. Because the last thing we want to do is be similar to these companies out there, and it takes you 3 weeks to cancel a subscription. Easier to unsubscribe or cancel than it is to subscribe. So.
You can find it on our website. I think it's the first drop-down menu. It says subscription box. You can find all the details there.
Yep. All right, folks, thank you for joining us. We're excited about gardening. As you can't tell, spring is upon us in a few days, and we're going to be out there in the greenhouse. Not yet.
Next week.
Next week, we're going to be out there in the greenhouse getting some things done.
So stay warm.
Stay warm.
Send us some snow pictures.
Yep. Thank you.